Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Husky Hotseat, a show for students, parents, and staff to get to know the Hubble community. I'm your host, Eric Elftmann, and each week on Husky Hotseat, you and I get to sit down with a member of our Hubble staff to ask them the answers to the tough questions. This week, I'm here with Kyle Schmidt. Kyle's a 6th grade math teacher who has been teaching for 10 years, 9 of them at Hubble, and 1 year at Franklin Middle School in Wheaton. But you could say Kyle has been at Hubble for 12 years, since he is also a former Hubble student. Mr. Schmidt coaches cross country and track and field, specifically the jumping events. I notice you are a pretty good jumper. You'll probably also catch him at basketball games and wrestling matches, not coaching, but keeping the official scorebook. Kyle, welcome to Husky Hotseat. Thank you for being here. I want to talk a little bit how you got into teaching. As I mentioned before, you were a former Husky student here at Hubble, so just go ahead and list off which former teachers were great and which ones were terrible. I'll let you just start with that.
Well, first, thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to be here. In terms of what got me into teaching, it was not my first career choice. Originally, I was heavy into cars. I wanted to be an automotive engineer. And then in high school, they didn't offer any automotive classes, but they did have architectural engineering and drafting classes. So I got into that. I ended up taking drafting classes for 3 years at Wheaton-Warrenville South. Shout out to Mr. Wentland. They are still offering those classes. So when I was in high school, I wanted to be an architectural engineer, architectural drafting and design. I quickly found out that that was 8 years of school, which would be very expensive. My girlfriend at the time, who ended up becoming my wife many years later, she was into teaching. So she was taking the adolescent classes at Wheaton-Warrenville South. And while they didn't have the teacher-to-student pipeline that they have now, we both took entrepreneurship over at Wheaton-Warrenville South, where we were able to actually go back to one of our teachers' classrooms. I went to Miss Hetherington's class at Bauer and worked with my old 4th grade teacher. So I ended up finding the love of teaching through that, more specifically through math, because while both of my original career choices involved math, this allowed me to hopefully get other students into math and possibly get one of those students into architectural drafting or automotive engineering through that.
So
avenue.
the best route to teaching is first be into 2 other things and then have a girlfriend that convinces you to do the right thing and go into teaching.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Always listen
Easy.
to your girlfriend.
Right. Obviously. Now, I think, you've pretty much only taught math, although you're interested in lots of things, obviously. So this might be tricky to answer, but is there something about teaching math specifically that is unique to that subject?
So I do have a degree in science as well as social studies. I have my middle school endorsements in those areas. But what I found is that in regards to science, it is just applied mathematics. So I had a physics teacher over at Wheaton-Warrenville South who said once you set up the equations, the physics was done, and from there on it was math. So in my mind, if you're able to do the math and understand the math, you can then use that in other areas of your life as well. So the nice thing about math is it kind of sets you up for success in other areas.
Okay, so that leads me right to my next question. You probably get this a lot from your students. Why do I have to learn this? Besides going into physics class, why do they have to learn this?
Sure. The one answer that I found that works is it's not what you're learning, but it's how you're learning it. Math is one of the subjects, kind of like music, that activates different parts of your brain in ways that other subjects don't activate your brain. So by learning different topics in math, your brain is actually creating different neural pathways, and synapses are firing in ways that you wouldn't necessarily get from memorizing a fact in a social studies classroom. So it's not necessarily that you're going to need to know how to do unit rates or ratios later in life, but it's the fact that you're learning how to problem solve that's going to help you.
Although you should probably know how to do unit rates if you're, shopping for anything.
You should for sure understand what the speed limit sign on the side of the road means when you're driving your car. Yes, that is correct.
I don't look at those. I just look at my dashboard and it tells me I'm going too fast. All right, so I have my own kids. You probably know. They are both teenagers, and over the years I've been tasked with helping them with math because my wife does not want any part of that. Something that comes up from time to time, and you might hear this from parents as well, this is so different from how I learned it X number of years ago. It doesn't make any sense. I think I know how to do math, but I don't know how to do this math. What do you think is different, or actually the same, but we just don't understand how it's different?
I think it's a twofold rationale for this. One, as we get older, we forget. So what I've seen is a lot of adults just kind of forget some of the math that they've been doing. It's very easy to retain skills that you use in your day-to-day life. Some of these more specific skills that we're learning in math, you might just forget. The other answer is we're transitioning kind of heavily. The pendulum has really swung from skills-based learning to problem-solving learning. So a lot of it is teaching students the why and how, as opposed to just the what are you going to be doing. It's why are you doing this? What's the reason for doing this? So in a lot of the homework questions that we're giving, that students are getting, that parents are trying to help them with, it's explain why this student did this process or what was wrong with this answer, not just here's an equation, solve it.
Have you found, I mean, in your own background, you've obviously kind of been on both sides of that coin, that students respond better to this style of math?
Yes and no. We've been doing this new style for about 4 years now, so it's taken some time for the trickle-up effect to actually occur from the elementary world into our world, because the first year we were just doing it for 6th grade, and it was a totally different methodology than what they got from 5th grade. But now the students have been doing it for 4 or 5 years. They're coming into the middle school with 3 to 4 years of experience in this with the same curriculum. They're using the same textbooks, just at the different grade levels. So the students have a better understanding of it. The parents at home are starting to get kind of the gist of it as well. Joe Gaston and I have created a really good resource for students and families with videos and completed copies of that. So it's becoming easier as time is going on, but there is still that challenge.
Okay. I'd like to turn a little page on math, because that might be all the math that I can handle for right now. You do coaching, and besides that, you also are one of the 6th grade lunchroom supervisors. So I just wanted to, for those listeners out there that are not in the building, can you paint a picture of the average 6th grade lunch period at Hubble Middle School? And I've been in there, but I just want to hear how you describe it to someone who hasn't been there.
In a word, overstimulating. There's a lot of noise. It might seem like chaos, but over the years, it's become more and more controlled. Stanchions have begun to being used, those rope things that you see at the movie theater, to kind of get people in a queue to line up for soda and popcorn. Instead, the students are lining up for pizza. So that has helped. Creating some sense of order has helped, but it really is just a loud room with 250 kids who are all having conversations, which means they are all talking over each other.
What is the number one food you found on the floor?
That's a toss-up between blueberries and craisins. Anything that is small and easily throwable without being noticed. There are apples, but those typically just fall off of a lunch tray. But blueberry and craisin day are some of my least favorites. That's when I get a lot of steps in, walking around with the broom and dustpan. Sometimes I log about 2,000 steps in a 30-minute lunch period. Okay,
parents, you heard it here first. Maybe some larger snack items. I mean, that'll get their arm strength up at the very least, right?
Absolutely. Good for baseball practice.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be back with Portrait of a Middle Schooler. Hey, Huskies, we are back with our guest, Kyle Schmidt, and I hope you're ready for one of our favorite segments, Portrait of a Middle Schooler. Strange fashion choices, weird hobbies, old nicknames, they're all about to come back and haunt you, Mr. Schmidt. All right, I've been looking forward to this one, specifically because I was around when Kyle was in middle school. So I want you to take a moment and describe your middle school self for us. Maybe what you look like, what activities you did, and this would be a great time to drop any embarrassing middle school stories you have about yourself. And I will also accept embarrassing middle school stories about Mr. Mowell.
I'm going to go right off the jump here with just embarrassing fashion choices. I was heavy into Hawaiian shirts. That was my jam.
Just to clarify for the listeners, was that everyone's jam at the time or just yours? Because they weren't all around.
I was a regular at St. Irene Catholic Church in Warrenville, and they were my church shirts. When I wanted to dress up, I wore a Hawaiian shirt. Ended up benefiting me later in life when I wore one to high school one day because I thought it still looked good. And a girl who became my wife saw me in a Hawaiian shirt, and she thought, that guy's weird. I'm going to go talk to him. So,
she was right.
Gentlemen, go with your gut. Anyway, I digress. I don't have any embarrassing stories about Mr. Mowell. I do have a couple embarrassing stories about Mr. Gasson.
Those are fine.
A couple things that he taught me was that there was a farm somewhere in Aurora that had an emu that got loose, and Mr. Gaston was on a run when an emu crossed his path. He turned that into a 15-minute story, as only Joe Gaston can do.
15 seems short, actually, when you mention it.
He was in a time crunch. We still had to learn some math. One thing that I have not let go, you, Mr. Elftmann, would play Name That Tune. You were one of the first teachers with an iPod, and I knew the song was a Led Zeppelin song, and I got it wrong. It was Communication Breakdown. I still remember that to this day.
I'm surprised they let you work here, honestly.
I just think, the principal hasn't known about that all this time. He might know about it now. So
I don't know if he's listening to these, so it's not a problem.
That's good to know. But yeah, in middle school, I was the student who always had a pencil in his pocket ready to go. I wasn't too much into extracurricular activities. I did the tech crew, 7th and 8th grade. So I was up in the booth with Mr. Katua for a while.
Do you remember what shows you were in?
I believe I helped out with High School Musical.
Okay.
I think. I was in middle school from 2006 to the spring of 2008. But I did a couple shows in the tech booth, not so much in the tech crew, with Mr. Gaston building the sets. Probably should have had those inspected from what I've heard. But yeah, so that was the extent of my connectedness in middle school.
Okay. How would you say things are different today here at Hubble versus back then?
I think it's the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And I think it's a lot of similarities. Everyone wants to get connected in school or have friends to do things with. What that looks like might change, and how those things look might change as well. But it's all just the same. Not a lot has changed. Kids still say goofy things. 6'7" is haunting me. Hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, that will have gone away.
We'll see. Were there any phrases like 6'7" that were permeating the middle school landscape at that time?
There weren't any phrases, but ironically, 2006 was about the time when cell phones became very popular. And there was this theory floating around that if you typed in *67, no one would know it was you that was calling, that it would turn off caller ID. So 6'7" was around back then. It's around now.
Prophecy foretold.
Yes.
Okay. Of the Hubble teachers that were teaching you way back then, that are still teaching at Hubble now, who was the scariest for little middle school Kyle?
There's not a lot left here teaching. However, the most strict teacher that is still here would probably have to be Mrs. Lindsay. She ran a tight ship back then. The reins have not been loosened as time has gone on. She has expectations, and you will meet those expectations.
All right. Shout out to Sherry Lindsay. All right. One more question about your middle school years. Knowing what you know now, besides Hawaiian shirts, what piece of advice would you give your middle school self?
Probably just be true to yourself. As a middle schooler, you're always worried about what everyone's thinking about you, which means that a lot of people are thinking about themselves, and not a lot of people are actually thinking outwardly. So I don't really have any regrets about anything that I did in middle school. So, you're 11, 12, 13 years old. You're supposed to make weird decisions and wear Hawaiian shirts because you think they're classy.
When was the last time you wore a Hawaiian shirt?
3 weeks ago.
Okay. Was it to like a wedding or something fancy?
No, it was not. It was just because that's what I had.
Okay. All right. I would love to see you wear some of these coming up in the next few weeks at school. With that, we are going to take another short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, Pack. We are still hanging with our guest, Kyle Schmidt. We've heard a lot about nerdy math stuff and Hawaiian shirts, but I want to talk a little bit more about current Kyle. According to what you told me before sitting down to record, you have 1 dog and 5 previous hamsters. Now, the phrase previous hamsters gave me a little pause. It was a little disturbing. So I want to know what's happening to the hamsters, Kyle.
So hamsters have a lifespan of about 2 years, and they either have a very traumatic ending to their life or they just kind of pass on. And my wife has had 5 of them. which means that I have also had 5 of them because we were living together during those times. And we have seen everything from a hamster just passing away overnight in its sleep, curled up in a ball, to us waking up to a hamster having multiple seizures within a couple minutes and very traumatic passings. We have had one hamster her first hamster, Joey, R.I.P., he ran away. He got out of his plastic cage into my wife's parents' house. We never found him. Someone else bought the house. So somewhere in that house, there is a little hamster skeleton.
Did they have to disclose that in the...
That is a great question. I don't know if that was in the closing documents. Okay. If it is, that's fantastic.
Comes with Joey. No questions asked. All right. Something that many people probably know about you is that you enjoy weightlifting, and you even have a home gym that you've designed and built in your garage. As you often say, you are the strongest guy in your own gym. What has your journey of weightlifting looked like? How did that start? Walk me through that a little bit.
So my fitness journey started in high school when I met Caroline. She was on the varsity basketball team, and I was working at Dairy Queen. And I thought, man, I really need to get myself in shape if I'm going to have a shot with a varsity basketball player. So I started off just riding bikes, running, getting into college. I wasn't into weightlifting at all, but I was running 8 or 9 miles a day. Doctor told me, hey, you need to start putting on some weight. So then I started hitting the weight room, and it kind of took off from there. Over the years, it's evolved from just the bro lifts of, every time you're going to go do something, hit some arms. That way you look good, to actually training smart and for longevity.
What are the best exercises if you want to wear Hawaiian shirts?
Bicep curls.
Okay.
Absolutely. Done. Hands down.
Okay. Little brag time for you. Give us some of your recent weightlifting PRs so listeners out there can get an idea exactly how scared they should be of you.
Well, this is something that, it's kind of uncomfortable for me to brag on myself, so I don't like doing it too often.
That's why you just do it this one time, and it's recorded for the rest of
That's
history.
Great. So I can't make any more progress after this. Got it. Current squat is 375 pounds. My goal is to hit 405. If I can put 4 plates on each side, that'd be huge. Deadlift is 455, which I hit by accident this past summer doing a garage gym weightlifting competition, which was kind of cool.
By accident meaning you forgot how to add?
Yes, actually I did.
Ironic.
I put on my previous PR and then realized when I finished the lift that there were 10 pounds on each side instead of 5. That was an accidental PR. It went up pretty smooth. Current bench press is 300.
All right. Awesome. Now, weightlifting's not your only hobby. I know you're also a big reader, especially of the Jack Reacher series. For the uninitiated out there, can you describe the character of Reacher and also why you want to be just like him?
Well, first of all, who wouldn't want to be like Jack Reacher? He's just an amazing human being. Reading didn't really start for me, restart, until actually last winter break. So December of 2024, you, Eric, had recommended the Jack Reacher books after the TV show had been out for a few seasons. So I picked up the Jack Reacher book, Persuader, to lead me into season 3 that was coming out. And I fell in love with it. I read it over the course of 4 days. From there, I have read a total of 15 of the Jack Reacher books. So half of the series that's already out, I have read in 1 calendar year. Jack Reacher's a pretty simple guy. Likes his coffee black. He likes his meals simple. And he is just traveling the United States. After being in the military for 20 years, he wants to see the world on his own accord instead of being told where to be and when to be there. However,
you can relate.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Having taught in the same classroom for 10 years. And yeah. But no, he just travels around the country, and I don't know if trouble seems to find him or if he just has an internal GPS of where it's located, but makes for interesting stories, great reads, some of them quicker than others, but that's how it goes.
I also know that you happen to game from time to time. You're kind of an Xbox fanboy. So 2 questions. First, your all-time favorite game. Second, what have you been playing lately?
My all-time favorite game, probably only because it's the first game that I really got into, has got to be Halo. I have been known to pull up the Master Chief Collection and play Halo 1 and Halo 2 all the way through start to finish. Just it brings that sense of nostalgia back. And probably the last year or so, it's just been Fortnite. Haven't played a lot since the summer. Reading has kind of taken up that time. So one hobby kind of takes the place of another. But Fortnite was huge for me. Probably for 2 years or so, I would play with a couple colleagues from work here. It's a great way to kind of get together with people when you can't actually be in the same room.
I don't know if we'll get a copyright strike for this, but do you think you could quickly just hum the opening Halo theme for us?
I don't have the voice for that. My sixth grade music teacher spent too much time on the recorder.
Yes, students that are listening currently, that used to be a major part of the curriculum that you are now missing out on, for better or worse, depending upon how you look at it.
Hot cross buns and the Titanic theme song. It doesn't get any better than that in the world of public education.
That is true. All right, we'll be right back after another break with our final segment. Okay, Huskies, before we go, it's time for Throw the Dog a Bone. Each episode, we like to sign off by answering one completely random question. Mr. Schmidt does not know the question I'm about to ask, and I have no idea what he's going to say, so it could get interesting. All right, today's question for Throw the Dog a Bone, Mr. Schmidt, which celebrity would you want as your best friend and why?
Well, that's a tough question. My family would probably say Chris Evans, because he is my Captain America. I don't know. I really haven't spent a lot of time thinking about celebrities in terms of having one as a friend.
All right, follow-up question. Which celebrity would be your enemy? Someone that when they come into a movie or show, you're like, nope, do not. Or maybe they're an athlete. I don't know.
That really gets into the world of typecasting. You know, you watch a movie and you're like, man, that guy plays a really good bad guy. And every movie he's in, he plays a bad guy. So that's the only sense that I know of him in. And, you know, off the top of my head, I don't know if I can think of one. Yeah, that's a really good question to kind of think about and ponder. But
maybe this just goes back to your love of Reacher, and that you kind of don't want any friends. You just want to be solo man on your own.
Yeah, you know, that very well might be it, but I think that might also be a good, you know, answer to the first question. I think Alan Ritchson, from what he puts out about his personal life, he does his best to just, you know, be a good person. He's had his own personal struggles that I can relate to in the second person sense, not necessarily the first person sense of what he's gone through, but people in my life have gone through some things that he himself has gone through. And he always talks about, you know, pushing yourself forward and doing what you have to do to keep going. And he likes to hit the weight room.
All right. Well, speaking of pushing yourself, as I mentioned at the top of the show, you are one of our track and field coaches. So I want to give you a moment just to talk about that.
Yeah, so track and field starts right after spring break. So when we get back from spring break in April, track and field starts. It's for 7th and 8th grade students. I coach the long jump, triple jump, and high jump events. Typically, each season, I have had at least one athlete place in our conference meet for high jump. This is kind of for one of two reasons. Some people just come in with a natural ability for it, which makes my job as a coach a little easier to kind of work on technique. But also it is an event that not a lot of people feel confident in. So we'll usually only get maybe 10 or 12 athletes actually into that event. Long jump is very popular. It's one of the easier events to get into. But so are the sprinting events. So if you're looking to get into something April and May when there really isn't a lot else going on at school aside from the clubs, track and field is a great way to get involved if you're a 7th or an 8th grader, especially if you haven't gotten into athletics. This is kind of an easy gateway into that world.
And this is a no-cut sport, correct?
It's a no-cut sport. We have had years where we've had 120 athletes, and we've had years where we've had 70 athletes. But we encourage everyone to come and try out. Just try it for a week or two, see how you like it, and stick around because a lot of people make a lot more progress throughout the season than they think they might.
All right, that's a great way to end our show. Thank you for listening to Husky Hot Seat. I want to thank our guest, Kyle Schmidt, for his time. If you see him around the Hubble community, say hello and ask him something about me you heard on the show, like his weightlifting goals, Halo, Hawaiian shirts, whatever. If you liked what you heard on Husky Hot Seat, remember to subscribe to the show. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere you like to listen to your podcasts. If you really want to help the show grow, please leave a review on your podcast app of choice. And finally, spread the news about the show to people you know. The internet is great, but the goal of Husky Hot Seat is to build connection within our Hubble community. So, the more staff, parents, and students that listen, the tighter we become. Remember, Huskies, none of us are lone wolves. We work best in a pack. See you next time.